Welcome to the Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast, where each week we're joined by leaders of Guaranteed Irish member businesses to chat about how they sustain jobs, communities and provenance. Supported by FBD Insurance, Ireland's largest homegrown insurer. Support, it's what we do.
Hi there, I'm Brid O'Connell and joining me today is Sean Torpey, Director of Torpey, to discuss grassroots hurling, the sustainability of Turby Bambú and sustainable practice and their honest apparel range. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. You're very welcome to join me today, Sean.
Nice to be here, Brie.
Well, Sean, I'm going to just tell the listeners first of all, it's torpey.ie, torpey.ie, a Clare man opposite a Limerick woman in a conversation about hurling. Not really a good recipe for a great interview, Sean.
We have been rivals in the past few weeks.
Well, I have to say the best is yet to come, I think. It's very exciting times.
Yeah.
With staff just a little bit under 10, you were established in 1981, a small business based in County Clare. Tell us a little bit about the background of the business, Sean.
So we started in 1981. I suppose hurling making has been in my family since about the 1930s. My granduncle Patrick Pop Torpey made Hurleys at that stage. It's very much a craft at that point, and didn't have a business with it.
Of course.
And then he passed that down to my father. My father loved Hurleys all through his career, and did different things in his life as well. But I suppose he was a part-time farmer, and in 1981 decided to start a hurling making business, and had a good reputation from then. And Clare won in 95, which also then added to our reputation over the years. And again, Clare winning in 2013 also added. So many other players from around the country now would rely on a Torpey, not just Clare players. I would say we have Hurleys in county teams in every dressing room in the country at this stage.
A great success story. I remember Clare winning in 85, and after such a long drought, it was the first time I experienced grown men crying at a match, and it was amazing. And of course, I experienced it myself a couple of years later when Limerick won. So it's great to see the counties that had gone for so long getting close, but not quite there. And of course, very often you'd hear people talking about the Munster final in hurling is like the All-Ireland final, because we all know the best hurling comes out of Munster. A little bit biased, don't we, Sean?
Well, I'm sure Kilkenny people would have something to say about that. Maybe.
Well, they've certainly put made themselves known over the last number of years, that's for sure, and they've certainly had a great job. But great in terms of the Munster hurling, it is strong. It's a big sport down there.
Yeah.
In terms of the business, you and a former hurler yourself, of course, for County Clare, a sport of the community is what how you describe the same principles as hurling, the same as yourselves in the business in Torpey Hurling. Explain to us what you mean by that and how important giving back to local communities really is in Torpey.
Yeah, well, I suppose first thing is I wouldn't have played county for Clare, just to clarify that. I would have played club hurling. But I suppose, look, hurling is really a community-based sport. Everybody gives it their time to do good for their local community. It's a welcoming part of the community for anybody in any background. And we would feel like at Torpey that we naturally have those values. I've seen it in action over the years from my father's time, where he would see a player might be 6 years of age coming into him for a hurley, and he would treat him just the same as he would for Brian Lohan, who had been playing and winning All-Irelands at the time. And I suppose that's what we are about in Torpey, is no matter what level you're at, we're going to give you the best product for the sport of hurling to keep you playing the game, and hopefully someday maybe you'll get to Croke Park and maybe have a medal coming home out of it as well. And we feel like we're there at the start of the journey right the way to the end of the journey, and we have a great relationship with the player because of that along the way. And even if Sean Finn or Grode Hegarty would have been using our hurleys when Limerick won in 2018, you're excited for them because the journey they've been on, even though we're Clare people.
Yeah,
so you can support people in that time as well.
Well, I think all sports people really see the journey that another sports person makes and empathizes with that. And I mean, what I love about hurling, the fastest sport in the world, like think about the pace of the ball, it's the fastest sport in the world. And of course, when foreigners come to see a game, a really good, exciting game, they get so wrapped up in it because of the sheer pace and excitement. It is an amazing sport, and it's one of those sports you learn as a kid and it never leaves you.
Yeah, look, you'll find that even though you may not reach the top in hurling,
of course.
You'll understand the pressures that players have on the field in terms of the fastness of the game because you've played it when you're younger. But I would also say that hurling has gone through a renaissance in the last 15 to 20 years from a popularity point of view, and really many supporters now never picked up a hurley in their life. They will sit down on a Sunday, watch a hurling match, because it is truly exciting. At the end of the day, what we want to see on an afternoon on a Sunday after a hard week's work is excitement. And I do think hurling, above all sports now at the moment, in my opinion, definitely brings that to the table.
Yeah, it's certainly excitement, and it's pure entertainment is what it is. And to watch it on television, as much as it's great to go to the matches, but to watch it on television where you have the bird's eye view, it's the best view really. But to be in the stadium then is amazing. And of course we're talking about All Ireland days. Now you're talking to the absolute, the most fake person altogether in terms of supporting hurling. Yeah. I've become a fair weather fan completely. I've never played camogie or anything in my life. Yeah. So I am the exactly person you've described. But we get such a kick out of it, and it's such a conversation piece when you start talking about, I suppose, all types of sports, but certainly there's something in the hurling that is in the DNA of the Irish. Back to Fionn McCool, I suppose.
Yeah, and look, it's definitely not just a traditionalist from a traditional hurling background that people are involved now, and I think we can all identify with hurling as just something really special to Ireland, and that's important. Even from my brand's level, we want to be seen as a really authentic Irish brand, and hurling obviously helps us do that as well. And we're always trying to promote hurling, because we know that if people are interested in hurling, they may also be interested in our products along the way as well.
Of course, well, it's good business sense.
It's a natural progression then,
It's good business sense as well. And here in Guaranteed Irish, we get so many emails from expats living overseas, Australia, the States, Europe, saying we're representing our counties in their little neck of the woods, so very low level, but fun and engaged and plugged back into home. And they all want to see if they can still use the Guaranteed Irish symbol on the jersey. It's amazing, the legacy it has overseas, GA.
Yeah, so I played in the UK myself with St. Barnabas in Nottingham, and I also played then in Nuremberg in Germany. I lived in Germany for a little while as well. And, while they're people know they're never going to get to the top level, it's a real conversation starter. I would say a huge social outlet. But the people in these places that are bringing hurling to these localities around the world, they deserve huge praise, because they do this voluntarily. And, it can be hard enough in Ireland to keep things moving. But I tell you, I've seen it firsthand. It's the work that goes on to keep hurling or Gaelic football promoted around the world by volunteers in clubs all over the world is huge. And we've seen definitely a surge in players going to Australia, New Zealand, Vietnam have a team, Saigon Gales I think are there as well. So you definitely have the sport going all over the world, and I think that's healthy for the sport. And who knows, maybe hurling or Gaelic football could be a worldwide sport in the next 50 years. And I think Ireland needs to open its eyes to the opportunities that could bring, because, cricket and I suppose association football are, the UK is huge beneficiaries. I've seen that in my time, to those sports being played around the world, and they would have originated there. So I think, why can't we dream that hurling might be moving across the world in the next 50 years.
Now, the GAA are very commercially focused, so I'm sure they've heard that, and they heard it here first on the Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast from Sean Torpey. On that note, on the GAA, just the last thing I would say is they create a wonderful resource for people to settle in abroad, and it's lovely to see our young having that, and of course the older diaspora then supporting them. So we'll park the GAA there, because I'm really interested in Torpey in terms of the R&D processes that you go through. You mentioned there that you love taking the child who starts to hurl in their first hurl all the way through their life cycle, I suppose, and their relationship with hurling and the broader GAA. You work with universities and institutes from that perspective. What kind of learnings and subsequent products have come from this work and that research?
I suppose the most notable product to come from research that we've conducted has been our groundbreaking Torpey Bambú Hurley.
Great.
So in the last 10 years, there has been a disease affecting the ash tree, and so we had to go about researching new materials and new ways of bringing a secure material to the hurling marketplace. And through that, then we started researching different materials, made some prototypes, but we really felt like we needed to get expertise from a sports engineering perspective independently involved.
Okay.
Because I suppose when you're very close to the bone of something in your business relies on a product like what we rely on Hurleys, you don't want your emotions getting involved in, maybe telling you something is good when it may not be good. So we partnered with Loughborough University in the UK. I studied there myself, a degree in sports engineering myself. And I suppose we did a battery of tests there on the product over a number of maybe 1 to 2 years to understand the material, understand its likeness to ash, understand its advantages to ash. And I suppose it gave us great confidence then when we started coming to the marketplace with the product, that we had something that, if people had came to it with an open mind, they would it would be a success. And
that's brilliant. Now, I didn't realize you had done the sports engineering, which is really critical actually to have thought outside the box, I'd imagine, for that, and to source that expertise.
Yeah, so my own background, I worked in the business when I was 21, started working full time in the business, spent maybe 5 to 6 years making Hurleys, I would say, at the highest level. Some of the best players at the time, Pádraig Maher, Shane McGrath, Davy Fitzgerald would have been using the Hurleys I was making on a day-to-day basis. And but at around 26, I decided, look, I probably need to understand the future of this business a little bit more and where it's going, and decided I would start studying sports engineering in Loughborough University. From there, I moved to Adidas for a little while in their innovation team. Brilliant. And saw more insights in terms of how to bring a project from an idea stage to a commercialization stage. And I suppose, I would say that, that was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my career. And I would like to think that, the business is reaping the reward for that now.
Yeah, for sure. What a good investment. I would consider that a really good educational investment and practical and applicable. My goodness. Brilliant. Well done, you and the family, for getting behind you to do that, which is great.
Yeah, they did, and they supported me quite a lot. So that was, I suppose at the time you don't see the future, but in fairness to them, they really supported me.
Well, curiosity got the better of you as well, which is great and always a sign of an entrepreneur. In terms, Sean, then, of meeting the demands of the modern player, obviously there's been a big adaptation to the Hurleys, and you've talked about that a little bit. In terms of the game itself over the past 40 years, like, how do you match the change and pace of the game, which is a lot more exciting? I don't care what anyone says. And I mean, the level of fitness of the players is phenomenal. When you think of it as an amateur sport, really. To get to that, to match that then with the adaptation and then bringing in the Bambú and the whole engineering, how do you square that off to make sure you're getting maximum advantage for your product and that you're matching the needs of the player in today's world? Yeah,
well, I feel like it really is ingrained in the business since the starting point because of my father. He was always a person who had an unbelievable attention to detail. Okay. And so was innovating in his at the time in when he ran the business, and especially from the 90s onwards, he was innovating quite a lot from a material standpoint. Went to source material in the Netherlands, probably one of the first Hurley makers to go outside of Ireland for ash, and discovered that there was actually in some places there was better ash than could be bought in Ireland. And I suppose that's where I learned a lot of that from. And then I suppose what you've seen then was in the 90s and previously you've seen a lot of ground hurling. So the bosses were a little bit smaller or a good bit smaller. And as the game has then developed over the years, and you see the players now and they're carrying the ball a lot more. It's all about possession. So the bosses are a little bit bigger. Then you get a bigger sweet spot in your hurley for hitting the ball a little bit further. I suppose there are some negatives that come with that. From our perspective, which not everybody understands, is we would find with ash is that nowadays the ball breaks the hurley more than the players break hurleys hitting off another hurley, because there's a couple of factors: the size of the boss on the hurley, the technology now with the ball and the consistency of the ball, I would say, and then also the strength and conditioning of the players are huge. There are 15-year-olds now that would be senior club players when I was playing club, and that's not that long ago, maybe 10 to 12 years ago. So it's it is, I would say, only getting more progressive, and we feel like we can move with the times, and also we listen to the players. So I think that's a huge feedback thing. If you don't listen to your customers, then you don't understand what their needs are, and I would say was a big aspect of my father's mindset when running the business. It wasn't about what he liked. in a hurley. It was about what the player liked, because at the end of the day, if the player was going across the white line, it wasn't my father. And I would say it's the same with myself. But what I have a big focus on it in my time running the business is consistency. So how do you we produce upwards of 30,000 units per year. So how do you create 30,000 units as consistent as possible?
That's right, yeah.
So that everybody gets a standard of really high quality to allow them to perform. And some players then are able to perform higher, and other players, unfortunately, may never get to that level, but they're getting the best chance that we can give them.
Okay, fair enough. And then Torpey Bambú, spelled Bambu, father. That is a trademark for yourself, and you're using the bamboo now instead of the ash, but I assume you're still making both.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the bamboo. I'm really interested in that from the sustainability point of view. Where's the bamboo coming from?
So we source our bamboo in Asia, and we work with partners there to ensure that the quality and consistency of the material is very high.
And how Irish can you make the Hurley then?
So we bring all of the bamboo back to Ireland, and we manufacture all the bamboo hurley at our manufacturing facility in Belfire and 6 Mile Bridge. So we've gone from employing 9 employees in 2020 to 16 employees at the moment. So we're growing quite rapidly.
That's a big improvement, a big increase.
From that point of view. And I suppose with bamboo, it grows at 5 meters per year, and can be harvested after 5 years. Whereas a typical ash tree, the best ash for hurley making, I would say, you need maybe anywhere between 30 and 35 years for it to grow to a level that
a lot less sustainable.
You can get, and then you're only actually taking the bottom 20% of the tree then.
Right. Okay.
Because it's only the root that really is usable for ash hurleys.
Okay.
So from a sustainability point of view, we have a report that we're hoping to launch really soon, where we will be able to showcase that the bamboo hurley has its carbon footprint is 4 times less than an ash hurley.
Wow.
And even though it does come all the way from Asia, it is because of the growth rate and the amount of bamboo material in that part of the world. The other thing with bamboo is it's even though it's a grass, its carbon sequestration value is very similar to a deciduous tree. And so it's taking in a lot of carbon from the atmosphere as it sits in the ground. And so there's a number of, and I probably could go into another few details of why we feel it is a super material from a sustainability point of view. But I suppose there's only so long I can stay talking about it as well.
Well, it's great to see and get us to challenge us to think it's not just about buying what's growing here. It's buying it in from somewhere else, what's not grown here, and making what we do best with it. So that's a brilliant perspective to look outside the box a little bit and open our own minds. And I'm all about supporting local, but very much our mantra is support local and look global. And we've always used that with our awards, and we find that is really applicable for more and more innovations. And as a small island nation, it's really important we blend the opportunities that are out there in the rest of the world with the best of Irish craftsmanship, etc.
Yeah, and I suppose from my perspective as running the business, one of the key pillar stones I run the business on is our expertise is hurley manufacturing, and we've kept that really at our factory here. I suppose some businesses do manufacture overseas and outsource, and that can be good for their business. But for us, we felt that keeping our knowledge in the manufacturing of hurleys close to where we manufacture is also, but also, as you say, marrying the best of the material from other locations in the world.
And being broad enough to say that, and confident enough to say that. And of course, the 16 jobs that you're creating down there in County Clare, they're all very glad you're there, and so are we here in Guaranteed Irish. So bamboo, we've seen all the positives, and of course we know a lot about the positives, but it's great to hear them again. You've received multiple awards now, Sean, at this stage. Tell us a little bit about them. I see Best Consumer Product in 2020. Talk to us a little bit about some of the awards you've won.
So we started out in 2020 and with Torpey Bambú, and I suppose we didn't know where you can do all the research you like, but at the end of the day, if for whatever reason products can be accepted or not accepted in a marketplace, and sometimes it's not down to the fact that a product may be bad or anything, it's just human psychology, I would say. And I suppose the first milestone was actually players and top level players utilising Bambú and taking it into their hands. And through the summer of 2020 that happened, even though it was a disrupted hurling year.
Very tough summer, yeah.
But I think it gave players the chance to look at something different, and everybody was reflecting on how life was operating for themselves. And I suppose by the end of 2020, then we did apply for for an award within
local enterprise office
with the Institute of Designers of Ireland.
Oh right, yeah.
And we won Best Consumer Product, and that was really a huge milestone for us as a business, because it, I suppose over the years, hurley making and hurley manufacture will be thought of as mainly a craft business. I would say we're an engineering business now, product design engineering business, because we have to do a lot of stuff that is very much iterations, technical knowledge, in-house technical knowledge. And to get recognition from some of the best designers in Ireland, that Torpey Bambú was, bringing a product to market that was
the best
of a standard of other industries, was just huge for us. And then secondly, moving on from that, to get in 2020 we won the Future Focus Award with Local Enterprise Office, and then we won Best Business in the Southwest region in 2021 in the National Enterprise Awards.
Oh, brilliant.
And that was a really big milestone for us as well, because again, it just means that from a business perspective, other experienced business individuals are looking at your business and going, yeah, they're actually doing something good here. And
it's certainly a validation. There's no question about that. And those awards are for that exact thing. And it's brilliant that you're getting them. But I'm very interested. You've now diversified and you've brought around an honest range, HONEST range, and it's working with zero waste designer Sarah O'Neill. Tell us a little bit more about that and the sustainable practices involved there.
Yeah, I suppose for me, it's trying to do things as good as you can. And some products you can do better on in terms of sustainability, and some products there are ceilings at the moment. And I would say apparel is there is ceilings as to the amount of sustainable practices you can do, but you can definitely do things better than a lot of other brands are doing, in my opinion. And so with the Honest Apparel range was, the idea behind it was to be very forthright with customers and explain, right, well, we are, doing our best to make products that have low air miles. For instance, we get our products produced in Portugal, and that comes with a higher cost, because the labor is a little bit higher. And then also that the labor that we are using is verified that it's ethically correct is very important for me, and from just my own moral code of running the business, but then quality as well. So okay, let's pay a little bit more, but let's not I suppose have to buy another product for a long time. And so it's not a fast fashion brand that we're creating with Torpey Apparel. It's very much a slow fashion brand, that there's less collections available, but that the collections don't change very much. And if you like it, for instance, we use recycled polyester, we use bamboo, we use organic cotton, which means that it has less water being used than synthetic cotton. And these are the best practices you can do in apparel right now. What we are doing is putting ourselves into a space to innovate into these areas in the future as well.
And what does the collection include?
So the collection includes male and female leggings and joggers, but then a unisex hoodie, gym tees like what I'm wearing at the moment, organic tees, and it's an athleisure range in a number of different colours, 3 main colours, and I suppose they're different pastels to what many other brands would use as well.
And of course, Irish designer Sarah O'Neill driving that with you. Yeah,
so we engaged with Sarah early days in this project, because we wanted to create something, but we wanted to do it and work with the best people in Ireland to do that with the values we felt matched ours. And Sarah is well renowned for sustainable fashion design, and advised on a lot of the materials, advised on the constructions of the garments, and we were delighted to work with her, and she's gone on to win a few awards herself, since collaborating with us. And I suppose it just goes to show that, we do have the expertise and knowledge in Ireland to do great things and to not forget that, I suppose, as well.
Now, we'll have to get you making them in Ireland soon, Sean. So we'll be watching that space to encourage
it's something that we will look into. And we are trying always to bring the air miles lower. And I think that's very important. And hopefully customers become more aware of where their garments are coming from.
Well, there's certainly a movement to get the making back here in Ireland. So watching that space now, Sean.
Quality over price is what we would always say.
And nudging you into it as well here in Ireland. So great opportunities afoot and opportunities for more growth. So well done there. In terms of other businesses and, tips, sharing with them. And we're a big believer here in Guaranteed Irish about the business members. Share information and knowledge and in the space that's trusted. And they help each other a lot and they buy from each other a lot, which is really important in our own ecosystem. What tips would you give to other businesses trying to be more sustainable here in Ireland?
I suppose to take, if you're not under a huge amount of time pressure to innovate, to take a step back and take a fresh approach. I suppose with Torpey Bambú, we really wanted to create a Hurley that wasn't going to be any more damaging to the environment than an ash Hurley always was. Yeah. Right. So we were lucky in the area of making ash Hurleys all the time. You break an ash Hurley, it maybe sits in the GA field or is thrown out over the ditch. It really isn't going to do any harm to anybody over the next 10 years. It's going to just disintegrate at some point and go back into the ground. And that was kind of a value system of hurling for us. And we wanted to bring that into Torpey Bambú. So that's what we did, and that was one of our pillars of the project. I suppose if you ask me what was easier, making something from a synthetic material would definitely have been easier for me, and more readily available. But we had to take a little bit longer of a route to stick to our moral compass and to ensure that we felt like we were minding the sport that we care so much about for the next generation. And I suppose from that would be my advice would be, the fastest route is not necessarily always the best route, but taking a step back, looking at where your moral compass is, and can we do something to stick to that value system? And the journey might be a little bit longer, but I would say my experience is going to be more exciting.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the right thing to do, as I keep saying. Allows you to sleep a little bit better at night as well. You're doing the right thing. Although, as you say, a little bit poorer for a little bit longer. But sometimes it's worth the wait, isn't it?
Yeah, look, and that's what I suppose there is an element of the other side of greenwashing and marketing out there that really can deflate you sometimes, because customers, and rightly so, are very questioning on products. And the more questioning that they do, the better, because the companies that have the right answers will always come to the top. That's in our opinion. But I suppose I have two small daughters myself, 4 and 18 months, and I suppose I'm running a business with one eye on them in terms of what is their future, and how can I make as little issues for them in the future by what I'm doing now. And maybe if everybody else had that little bit of an attitude, it might lead to more clear ideas, I suppose.
And it's so funny because we meet so many businesses in here doing this type of thing in the marketing space and podcasts and things like that. Those who look to the generation coming behind them, their conscience is so overloaded. They're on a mission to change. So I really welcome that attitude. It's good.
It's not every industry can be as innovative as we have with Torpey Bambú, and that's not what I'm trying to say. But I suppose you can do things as well as you can right now, and technology is always changing. You don't know what is happening in 10 years' time to allow you to build on what you're doing now, is what I would say.
And in terms of your own marketing and brand awareness, you've really done a great job. And of course, you've got the perfect captive audience. Once an All-Ireland hurler is using your product, you've got this great sense of influence and ability to affect change, subtly or otherwise. We talk a lot about marketing influencers here in Guaranteed Irish. How have you used that in the world of sport to position and help Torpey grow its market share and bring new innovations to the marketplace?
Yeah, well, look, I've seen a few different strategies in my time, both in Loughborough in the UK and studying sports engineering and looking at other brands, I suppose, over the years. And for us at Torpey, we're not a huge global brand. So for us, it's all about authenticity. And so, for instance, we will work with every player, no matter who they are, to give them the best product they can. And, we'll always try to, treat them right in terms of our time and expertise. And they are very important to us at the top level. But they are only 1% of the overall customer marketplace. So we also need to keep one eye on everybody else and making sure we're getting a great product to them. But we would keep the authenticity in mind in terms of we don't pay players to use our products. Players choose to use our products. Yeah. Obviously, we will do as much customization as we can to help them perform better. Some players have, and this has gone on for generations in hurley making, and we're by no means the only hurley maker with that attitude. Many hurley makers will do custom products for the best players in the game to, mean that they play well.
Enhance their game.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we recognise that if a player plays well, Diarmuid Ryan is after scoring the winner for Clare at the weekend. Diarmuid is a customer of ours since he was 6 or 7, his brother before him. But, he likes a particular style of hurley to other players. So, it's just you're on the journey with them and you will give, your best for them along the way as well. But there is no doubt that, having players at the top level using your product is great for the business. But equally, I would say is they're not at the top level using any product. They're using what they feel is going to get them the win. Sustainability is fine. Off the pitch, I don't think any player cares about sustainability when they're in the heat of battle, and performance is key, winning is key. You've put a lot of work into being in the best shape of your life, and the hurley matters because it's the last thing that puts the ball over the bar.
So, Sean Torpey, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. More importantly, well done to the Banner County on producing a great product. I'm still going to be shouting up Limerick. Sorry about that, Sean, but that has to be done.
Limerick players using them as well.
I know, indeed, many of them. And thank you so much for joining us. It's been a fascinating story, and people just love talking about sport in this country, and none as exciting as hurling. After all, the fastest game in the world. Thanks, Sean Torpey, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and delighted to be a member of Guaranteed Irish.
If you want to learn more about Torpey products, we will leave a link to their website in the show notes. Thank you all, as always, for listening. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button wherever you are listening to this podcast.
The Guaranteed Irish Business Podcast, sponsored by FBD Insurance, Ireland's largest homegrown insurer. Support. It's what we do.